Hey friends, Stephanie here for another session of the Matthew 24:14 series of our Maranatha Global Bible Study. And the way we're thinking about this session, we're just parking in one verse for however long the Lord leads us to do this series in particular. I think of it like when you live in a house and you have a yard, your grass grows. So say on Saturday morning, you just have a habit of mowing the grass, right? You cut it, you mow it, you go back to your life through the week, and next Saturday, you got to mow the same grass again. And Matthew 24:14 encapsulates so much of what is in the heart of the FAI ethos. And we thought that this would just be a good place to camp. We're just going to put some stakes in the ground and hang here for, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe more, maybe less. And so as Gabe and Joel finish the Revelation series, we're releasing those every other week. On the alternate weeks, we're doing the Matthew 24:14 series. And Matthew 24:14, you're going to hear us say this 1,000 times through this, says, "And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony," or some translations say as a witness. I'm reading the ESV here, "to all nations, and then the end will come." And so I love it because of all of the components. This gospel. What is the gospel? Of the kingdom. What is the kingdom? Will be proclaimed. How? Why? To what end? Throughout the whole world as a witness to all nations, and then the end will come. So that's like 7 different components of things that hit our core values and things that we really care about. And today I just want to spend a little bit of time on the gospel. You know, you might know that is it means the good news. So you could say the good news of the kingdom. And what is the good news? I believe the best, most concise, succinct way to describe the good news of the kingdom is the word Maranatha. And if you have been around us for more than 5 minutes, you know, because we mow this grass a lot as well, that the word Maranatha is an Aramaic phrase that, depending on how you pronounce it, Maranatha or Maranatha, is the Lord has come or the Lord is coming. Just to be clear, I don't really remember which one's which. I just know, depending on how you pronounce it, it's got this beautiful grammatical element that you can testify that the Lord has come and the Lord is yet coming. And so in the first coming, he came to take on, you know, it's in Corinthians, that he who knew no sin became sin for us, that he could take our unrighteousness from us and impute his righteousness on us, which is the cross. If we don't have the cross, we don't have anything. If we don't have the cross of Jesus, we have nothing. And this is why Paul could say to the Corinthians, I made it a point to know nothing among you except Christ and him crucified. And while we yearn for the day that he comes, if we didn't have the cross, we would only have Judgment Day. But the thing about the cross is that it allowed the Lord to be both just and the justifier of he who calls upon his name. That's in Romans, I think it's Romans 5. And so and then you have, you know, there's a song in Revelation 5 that as John, the Apostle John, is having this like throne room experience, and he sees the one on the throne in Revelation 4. He essentially in Revelation 4 and 5 sees the Daniel 7 moment when one like the Son of Man approaches the one on the throne, the Ancient of Days, and is given the kingdoms and dominion and honor and glory, things that are reserved for the Lord and the Lord alone. So then John, as he communicates it in Revelation 5, sees one on the throne, and then he has a scroll in his hand with 7 seals, and he hears this question: who is worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals? Meaning, who is worthy to steward Judgment Day? And John begins to weep because he knows nobody. There's nobody that can be trusted because sin entered through Adam and everybody has been cursed ever since. We all have this root and seat of selfish ambition and pride and instincts that just are not holy. So he's weeping. And then an elder comes to him and says, "Behold, John, weep no more. The Lion of the tribe of Judah has overcome, and he can be trusted with the scroll, to take the scroll and to loose its seals. He can guide us through this." You know, as an American, we have a colloquial phrase that absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so we have the Constitution, we have all of these checks and balances because it was founded on the premise, and I know that not everybody watching this session is American, but this is just a an issue I grew up with, a value that I grew up with. We have all of these checks and balances because we don't trust anybody with absolute power, because we know you might come in with the best intentions, but absolute power corrupts absolutely. So nobody can be trusted with all of the power. Nobody can be given absolute power because you're going to exploit people and use it to your advantage. And that's what John is thinking. Nobody can be trusted. But the elder says, no, 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 no. The Lion of the tribe of Judah has overcome and he can be trusted. So then he goes, this is John, right? He knows the Lord. He spent time with the Lord. He spent years with the Lord. And then he turns to look for this Lion of the tribe of Judah that was foretold back in Genesis, that the scepter would not depart from Judah. Judah is a lion. He will hold the scepter forever. And he turns to look and he sees one, like a lamb, as though the lamb had been slain. So think through Abraham on the Mount Moriah with Isaac. The Lord will provide himself a lamb. John the Baptist looking at his cousin Jesus on the banks of the Jordan saying, behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. Even in the Passover, in the Exodus, you had to be covered in the blood of the Lamb according to the word of the Lord. And so that Lamb that came to take on our unrighteousness, he who knew no sin became sin for us, that he could impute his righteousness to us so that he could overcome and bring us with him into that victory. So he can say, have no fear, take courage. I have overcome the world. He's overcome the lusts of the flesh, the pride of life, the lusts of the world, and is inviting us into that with him in the resurrection when he comes. The Lord has come once to take on the darkness of sin, to break its power, to break the power of death, so that all who confess his name and believe on him, God so loved the world, he gave his one and only begotten, uniquely covenantally begotten Son, so that whoever calls on his name and believes in him will have everlasting life. That life we only have access to because he came to break the power of sin and death through the cross. So Christ and him crucified is literally, it's the crux of the good news of the kingdom. And because of the cross, we can then proclaim he is coming again. And when he comes again, we can have confidence that he will rescue us at his coming. He won't simply judge us. And this is why the Son of Man, or this one who's overcome, to take the scroll and to loose its seals, can also judge the quick and the dead at the end of 1,000 years in the second resurrection. And so we want to give ourselves now to living in light of that. And that is what I love about following Jesus. And also the thing that I find the most disconcerting about following Jesus is that in the tension between these two comings, he really just cares about minute by minute obedience. So this is why the Sermon on the Mount, for example, is so forensic on your interior life and your thought life and your desires and how that manifests in your behaviors and how you relate to people and what you spend your money on. But ultimately it comes to, what do you think about? And so I want to encourage myself, and I invite any of you that this is resonating with, to think about things that are good and true and pure, because he displayed the severity of sin in the cross and invites us into everlasting life when he comes. We carry our cross daily and kill that thing in us that makes us untrustworthy with the scroll, so that we can reign with him when he comes. That's the end of the song in Revelation 5. So I hope that encourages you. We'll be back in a couple weeks for the next session of Matthew 24:14. Thank you for hanging out in this verse with us this year. And again, all of our resources are free. All of our Maranatha Global Bible Studies are free, and they are available on YouTube video, on the app, and then we distribute the audio through different podcast platforms, so whatever is most convenient for you. But all of this is archived at fai.online/mgbs. And so you can go find whatever series, you can go through the archives, you can pull the notes. We have notes for you. And I hope that this blesses you. And if you would like to help us continue to do these things, you can join our $5 monthly giving campaign, also available at fai.online or in the FAI app. It's safe, it's secure. If you're in North America, it's tax deductible. And we just really appreciate your support and friendship. And thank you for getting in the Word with us. Maranatha.